Paul McKenna or Marisa Peer, which hypnotherapy training is for you? If you are considering being a hypnotherapist or learning how to be a hypnotist, you may well be looking at either Paul McKenna, who's recently been re-emergent on the scene out there offering training through Mind Valley, or you may well be looking at Marisa Peer, who's been established for a good few years now, offering her RTT therapy. So I'm going to talk you through the pros and cons of each, what I think they're most relevant for, and at the end of this video I'm going to share with you the one thing that actually is more important than anything that they are, or any school is probably telling you, that no one will tell you. But I'm going to share that with you at the end, because if you are considering being a hypnotherapist, you really need to understand this before you make that commitment. So I'm Jonathan Butler from My Fit Mind and Help Hypnotherapist, and I'll just declare my interest here in that I am a qualified RTT therapist. I'm one of the most experienced RTT therapists. I was one of the earliest people trained by Marisa Peer in her courses, so I've got a really good understanding of RTT. But I'm also a huge fan of Paul McKenna. In fact, it was Paul McKenna who got me interested in hypnosis, hypnotherapy, way back in the 80s and the 90s with his TV shows, when I was using this to really work out how I could improve my performance as a sports person, as an elite cyclist at the time. So I'm a big fan of both people. Okay, so what I'm going to go through, I'm going to talk to you about where both of these people are coming from. Where does Paul McKenna come from? Where does Marisa come from? How are they similar? How are they different in kind of their background and philosophy? I'm going to talk about my understanding of the different courses themselves, from what I've learned, my knowledge of RTT, but from what I've learned from others and looking at the detail of Paul McKenna's course. So I'm going to talk about how the courses compare. I'm going to talk then about the audiences. Who are these courses intended for? What is the target audience for these different types of training? Okay, because I think there is some difference there, certainly in my mind. Then I'm going to talk about what is the learning style. How do these courses differ in the way that they are taught? And that's quite important, because we all learn in different ways, so I hope that will help you to inform yourself. I'm going to talk a little bit about the certification, in terms of what you get at the end of it, what that actually means in reality. Then I'm going to talk about the support they give you to get clients, because clearly you can learn a skill, but actually if you're not getting clients, it may not be a huge amount of use to you. So then I'm going to talk about the effort required to go through both types of training. Okay, and then finally I'm going to talk about the costs, and then finally I'm going to tell you about the one thing that I will have touched upon here before I get to that point, but that is really the most important thing that you need to think about. So do watch this to the end. So let's get into this first of all. Excuse the background noise, I am doing this live and I'm outside, so it's nice fresh air, quite a nice view hopefully for you, but there may be the odd noise in the background, but hopefully that all adds to the atmosphere. So let's compare Marisa and Paul. So both of them have been around, I'm sure they won't mind me saying, a long time. Been both in the game for 35 years. So they are both incredibly experienced, very credible people. Marisa has been 30, probably nearly now 35 years as a therapist, as a hypnotherapist. That is very much her background. Paul has been working with hypnosis. I think he started off as a DJ, and he got interested in hypnosis and he used that. And obviously most of us, certainly those of us of a certain age, will remember him for being on TV, being an entertainer, okay, using hypnosis, stage shows. He was very famous for doing those things. So they do actually come from a slightly different background. Marisa comes from a pure therapy background. Paul learnt his hypnosis, and he did a lot of work around entertainment, around doing shows. So, you know, they've obviously got very similar skills, but a bit of a different background that they actually come from. And as you'll probably see in terms of you know, the way they come across, the way they work, Paul is obviously, you know, he is charismatic, he is an entertainer. Marisa is more of a pure therapist, working in that slightly different way. So that makes sense based upon their background. There's no right or wrong around that, but that's important to understand. So Paul and Marisa are both hypnotherapists. Both got great skills. They got different approaches, but they do come from slightly different backgrounds. Okay, so that's just something you want to be aware of. Now, looking at the courses themselves, the Marisa Peer course is something that is going to take you at least 6 months to do, probably longer, and there is a lot of content in it. Okay, there is a lot of content in it. It is around 300 hours of learning, and there is a lot of work in doing that. It is a very comprehensive course, and I'll talk about the way that it's delivered a little bit later on. So it's a long course because there's a lot of work to do, and while part of it is online, a big part of it is actually in person as well, or a significant element of it is, or can be, and a lot of people choose this option, is in person. And what I'd say is, from my experience of working and of training there was very much a philosophy of you don't leave people behind. You have a set of people on there, and they're going to get you to the end. They're going to get you being qualified, get you being capable, getting you confident to go out and be a hypnotherapist, to be an RTT hypnotherapist. Paul McKenna's course, they talk about it being 3 hours a week over 4 months. So there's quite a big difference there in terms of the effort, in terms of the learning. And again, actually, this in a lot of ways reflects the therapy itself. So Marisa RTT is very much about getting results quickly for people, but it's a very thorough process. It's a very thorough process. A session for RTT is typically an hour and a half, 2 hours, whereas Paul McKenna talks a lot about doing stuff in 20, 30 minutes for people. So there's no right or wrong in that, but they are quite different approaches that they actually come from, and the courses kind of reflect that as well. So Marisa's course is very thorough. It goes from understanding the principles of how the mind works, talks you through how to hypnotize people, how to deal with different issues, and there's lots of application, lots of practice around getting things done. So Paul's course is, and it's talked about, so if you've seen that Mind Valley video with Vishen, the guy from Mind Valley, the founder of Mind Valley, he talks about it being targeted at an audience who don't have much time, and therefore it's designed to be learnt rapidly and fitted in within people's busy schedules. And again, there's no right or wrong with this. Clearly people are very, very busy, and definitely I'm a big fan of trying to learn things as quickly as possible. So they're both teaching you things quite quickly, but there is definitely a difference in the amount of content that you need to learn for Marisa's course and the amount that there appears to be in Paul McKenna's course. And so there's not a right or wrong on that. That is just something to be aware of and make your own mind up about. So what is the learning style? So again, if I start off with RTT, with Marisa's course, it is about you learn online to start with, and it's very good, it's very thorough, and it's probably got even better since I did it, because I was one of the kind of early adopters of this. But it really makes it clear, takes you through clear steps where you're understanding things at the end. You're being tested at the end of each of those modules. But then when you get to the end of it, and I know there are options to either do it all online or to do it in person, but a lot of people do choose the in-person option at the end of it, which I strongly recommend. I know that I did that, where you actually spend a week or two with in the classroom with Marisa, with some of her trainers, with your colleagues, and then that's really, really powerful for the practice you get, for the advice you get, but also for the community that you make. So that's a very powerful thing. And as I said, there's very much a culture of, at the end of that, everyone takes an exam, and there is very much a culture that they're going to get you there. If you don't pass it first time, they'll help you, and you come back for more. So they very much talk about no one's going to get left behind. So with Paul McKenna's, the Mind Valley course, again, as I understand it, it is all online. So there is individual one-to-one online learning, and then there are weekly, I believe it's weekly, which is really good, weekly Q&A call-ins with Paul McKenna himself, and I think there's a couple of other people he's got helping him, as you'd imagine, as well. So there is that opportunity online to have that interface with Paul McKenna as part of the group that's going through the training. So that's really cool to have that opportunity to ask him questions. And then I believe they also have done things like Facebook groups, but then there is a community. They have like an online community where people can, I suppose, effectively do what they're doing in the RTT training, where people can be testing each other and getting together as groups there, but it's online, not in person. I don't believe there's any in-person option with Paul McKenna's training, but maybe that will change. Okay, so some slight differences in philosophy there in terms of the way it's delivered, and I guess again I thought one thing I talked about and reinforced that there was definitely this approach on RTT of we're not going to leave anybody behind, we're going to get you there, because obviously some people are going to move faster, some people are going to find it easier than others, some will need more support than others. So in an online setting, everything's online, I'm not sure how well that will work in terms of making sure that you've got people on over the line, particularly in a online group session. But I'm happy to be proven wrong on that. For me, I think that bit is hard. I'm a big fan of online learning, but I think there are certain things where you need to be one-on-one with people. So if I'm missing something there, anyone who's done the Paul McKenna course, please do jump in and tell us. So then certification. So what do you get at the end of it? So both courses will certify you to be a hypnotherapist. You'll get with Marisa, you'll get a certificate from the Marisa Peer training school, and RTT is certified by a number of bodies. I can't remember how many there are. There's probably about half a dozen worldwide, various different bodies. And then with Paul McKenna's, there's a certification by an organisation called the IAPCP. So that is the only accreditation. I must admit, this was not an organisation I've heard of before, but there are a lot of certification organisations out there. And the reality is this, that while in some countries there is a very stringent requirement framework to be a hypnotherapist, or in some states, if you're in the US, where you need to be state registered, you need to have a license to practice, all of these kind of things, as a government accreditation. In the vast majority of countries worldwide, you do not need that. And certifications are effectively a certificate to say that you've done the course and that the trainers say that you've done it well. It is not a certification from a government body. It is not a certification from a health board. So generally, there are no common standards in this business. There are lots of different boards who are trying to do good things. So you can take your own views around that. So you can look up maybe those different certifications that you've actually got. But I certainly know, and I'm sure it's the same in Paul McKenna's group, it's the same in Marisa's group, that while they have that external accreditation, the certification is really based upon getting people, is based upon the RTT team, Marisa and her team, feeling that you are at a level where you're ready to go out there and represent the brand, because obviously that's important, because it is a premium brand. They're both people are very high value premium brands. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is getting clients, because clearly getting clients is kind of important, unless you're doing this as a hobby. And so for me, what I'd say is, having been through the RTT training, they have some marketing training within the course. It's a relatively small part of the course, and depending on where you're starting from, it's some useful stuff in there, but it is fairly limited. They do also have their own additional, at an additional fee, training available as well, which is delivered by external marketing consultants, okay, who teach people that. So that's an additional cost thing that they do, as well as some basic training, unless that's changed, that is involved in the core course itself. Now, see again in Paul McKenna's, I was pleased to see that they do have in there an element upon how to market the business. I don't know exactly how many hours it was, but given that you've got 4 hours a week, 3 or 4 hours, 3 hours a week over 4 months, with 4 key modules in it, one of that being marketing and getting clients. It's not a huge, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a huge amount of time on marketing. But I did notice they've thrown in there some bonuses, so they're throwing in a bonus, Mind Valley are throwing in a bonus where you can attend a guy who's I forgot his name, who's a marketing coach, who has it's a two-day event that if you buy this you can go to as a bonus. Just being a little bit cynical, I suspect if you're getting thrown into that, if this person is providing a free 2-day seminar, they're probably going to go and try and sell you a big ticket marketing course off the back of that. But I may be wrong, maybe they're just doing it out of the goodness of their hearts. But it's not a huge amount of, it doesn't seem to me to be a huge amount of marketing support. It's in there, but if you are new to all of this, if you are new to running a business, starting a business, if you're new to marketing a business, it doesn't seem like a huge amount of support. And to be fair, this is an opinion of mine which I think is really important. I'm going to come back to this in a moment about the marketing, because this really is very, very important. So let me just talk a little bit again about the approach. So I've talked about the sort of the level of content and the level of work, but actually in terms of delivering the therapy itself, and let me talk here actually about the audience. I meant to talk about this earlier, but I'm not going to miss it. I'm going to come back to it now. So who are these different courses aimed at? So Marisa's training is very squarely aimed, and excuse the plane going over, it's always good to be live. Marisa's course is very squarely aimed at teaching people to be hypnotherapists, okay? And they may add that to their existing business. Quite often people may be counsellors, I know there are doctors, but a lot of people it's a standalone thing of teaching people to be therapists. Now, watching the Mind Valley video, I got a little bit confused actually as to who the target audience is for Paul McKenna's course. So it talks about training you to be a hypnotherapist, but then Vishen, the Mind Valley CEO, was talking about the target audience being coaches, CEOs, entrepreneurs, personal trainers. And then he sort of came back again and started talking about coaches and personal trainers. So I kind of, what I'm seeing here is that Marisa is aiming this at people who want to be a therapist. Paul McKenna's course is teaching people to be a hypnotherapist. It seemed to be more aimed, and they actually seem to be a little bit confused about this in the messaging. It certainly confused me. They seem to be aiming this at teaching people something that's a kind of an adjunct, an extra set of tools that they can use in their coaching business or in their work as an entrepreneur more generally, or as even they talk about work as a PT, as a personal trainer. And that would kind of tally with the idea that Marisa's course is about it's a lot of hours, a lot of content. Paul's course is much more rapid learning. It's less on, it's less learning to do. So that would kind of tally with the idea that this is something to add on to your toolkit. But they are saying that you will be qualified to be a hypnotherapist off the back of this as well. But they did seem to be a bit confused about who the target audience was, in my opinion. Okay, now one from last, I'm going to talk about the cost, because you're probably wondering around this. So I don't know the precise cost of Marisa's course now, but it's certainly over $10K. And again, I think depending on which course you do, whether you decide it's online or in person or hybrid. So it's a reasonable chunk of money, but it is a very substantial, thorough course. You get certified at the end of it. You do get a lot of support with it, and also RTT, it is established, it is a brand that's recognised and has high value. Okay, so being an RTT therapist is high value, and people can attract far better rates than regular hypnotherapists, because it is something that is powerful, that is effective, but is perceived as high value, being a Marisa Peer RTT therapist. And obviously RTT has been going maybe 6-7 years now as as something that's been building and growing. So that's where they come from with RTT for cost. Now Paul's cost, they had the usual, hey, this is $40,000 or $39,999 worth of value, but it's yours for $3,999. So basically it's $4,000, which I guess is about £3,000, €3,500. And again, that actually seems like a pretty good price to get a qualification, to get training from Paul McKenna, to learn some good techniques there. So that seems like a pretty good price point. So again, it's something for you to go comparing the two things, and I think they talked about that being at that price because it is fairly new. It's I think they said it's the beginning of their second year in doing this, so it's fair to assume that price is going to go up over time. So they're clearly establishing themselves, and I think they did say as well that obviously as it's new early on, they're learning and they're going to be ironing out some wrinkles as they go. So they're very clear about that. So hope that's been really, really helpful in terms of looking at the different schools, weighing up the different options. I suggest you look at them. You might want to look at other options as well and work out what is best for you based upon those criteria and your own criteria. But here's the thing that I really want to leave you with, and that is this: that being a hypnotherapist is a brilliant, powerful thing. Now, Paul McKenna said in his talk on the Mind Valley video that there's never been a better time to be a hypnotherapist. Well, sure, the awareness is rising out there. People are much more open-minded to things. Things are good, but also it is actually now becoming quite a competitive market because there are a lot more people being trained than there were in the past. So, if you want to become a hypnotherapist, you need, unless you want to do this as a hobby, you need to be sure that you can be successful. And I talked about the marketing earlier. Now, in my opinion, having trained as a hypnotherapist and built a hypnotherapy business, hypnotherapy coaching business, I don't think really any of the training schools, any of the hundreds of training schools that I've come across, really properly understand how to build a hypnotherapy business today. And the reason for that is it's changed so much from when they were establishing themselves as hypnotherapists. It's digital, it's online, there are more people in the market, there are more opportunities, but there's more competition. It's back in the day there were a certain amount of people being trained, people leaving the profession fairly steady. Now there's a big global audience. You've got to understand how you're going to get clients. You have got to get to grips with digital marketing. You've got to get to grips with how you're going to get clients. You've got to get to grips with a lot of the business, marketing and sales side of this. And a lot of big schools will tell you, hey, we'll share with you our advice, our marketing skills from how we built our business. But of course, it's a very different thing. Marketing a hypnotherapy training school is incredibly different from marketing yourself as an individual private practice hypnotherapist. And so with the best will in the world, the people who are successful now running these training schools don't really understand how it is now to market themselves as a therapist because things have changed so much. So my advice to you is choose the best hypnotherapy training for you. And like anything in life, there's a big correlation between what you pay and what you get for things, although it's not necessarily a strict relationship. But also, like building any business, you need to invest in the things that are going to make you successful. So as well as investing in your hypnotherapy training, you need to invest in your marketing, and you need to invest in that with people who understand how to successfully market a hypnotherapy business, which is where we come in, because we've worked that out. We've worked the formula. We'll show you exactly how to make a good living, to get there quicker, to differentiate yourself, to avoid all the pain. Because the reality is, training to be a hypnotherapist is the easy part. Marketing the business is the harder part. But when you get that right, you can have a very successful practice. You can make good money, live the lifestyle where you want, working from wherever you want to be in the world. All of those things are available to you. but you can't just train to be a therapist. You've got to, at the same time, invest in building the business. So if you'd like to know more about what we do, please feel free to check our website. So I've got two. I'll put them in the links below, but helpforhypnotherapists.com, and there's a bit of noise coming in at just the right time. Helpforhypnotherapists.com, which is a website geared to giving advice for new and growing hypnotherapists, people looking to build their business. We've got various courses in there where we show people exactly what they need to do to successfully and rapidly market their businesses. And you can also check out my individual website, because I'm not one of these people who just does marketing and training. I am a working hypnotherapist, RTT therapist. That's my core thing. I love doing that, and that is www.myfitmind.co.uk. Again, it's in the link below. If you enjoyed the video, please do subscribe. If you've got any comments, questions, please do put them below, and I promise I will answer them. I really look forward to answering your questions and helping you on your journey if you do decide to become a hypnotherapist. Thanks for listening. I'm Jonathan. Bye for now.